Imagine this. You and your friends are villagers in a medieval village, and among you, without your knowledge, are werewolves. What are you going to do about that? This is One Night Werewolf, a party game for 3 to 10 players. Welcome back to the Board Game Archives. In today's review, we're going to be looking at One Night Werewolf, a house favorite here. What we're going to do, we're going to provide an overview on how the game plays, then explain our review formula, and then finally give the review itself. In One Night Werewolf, 3 to 10 players assume the roles of various villagers in a medieval village. The goal of the game is to try and vote out the werewolves. The werewolves will attempt to avoid suspicion and instead put blame on everybody else. If they can successfully avoid being voted out, then they win. Our villagers are simple townsfolk, and their goal is just to find out who the werewolves are. Even if one werewolf is voted out, all werewolves lose, and the villagers instead win. After everybody looks at their cards at the start of each round, they're not allowed to look at their cards anymore. Seers, however, are allowed to look at 2 other people's cards to see if they're telling the truth about who they really are. Troublemakers, meanwhile, are able to swap 2 players' cards after they've looked at their cards, so they don't know who they are. The doppelganger is able to look at any one other player's cards. Whatever card they have, she must play as that specific role for the rest of the game. Every round, there are 3 face-down cards in the center of the table. The drunk is supposed to switch his card with any one of those 3 cards, but he's not allowed to look at his new card. He's essentially playing blind. At the end of every round, everybody votes for who they think the werewolf is. If the majority vote lands on the hunter, then whoever the hunter votes for also is voted out. 2 people for the price of 1. The insomniac is able to check on her card after everybody else. This is useful because there are other roles that can switch cards around, so the insomniac will always know who exactly she is. Prior to each round start, the masons are able to make eye contact so that they know who the other mason is. This way they can team up and protect themselves if anybody else claims that they are the werewolves. The minion wants to look suspicious. They want people to vote for them. If the minion manages to get voted out, the werewolves win in his stead. The robber works similarly to the drunk in that he is able to take anyone else's card and swap it with his. However, he is able to see that new card and act as if he is that specific character. Finally, the tanner wants to be voted out because he hates his role so much. So he wants everybody to vote for him, and if he is voted out, he and he alone wins the game. Not the villagers, not the werewolves. So as an example of a game, let's look at a game with 3 villagers, 2 werewolves, a seer, and a troublemaker. Although there are 7 cards, this will be a 4-player game. 3 cards will be chosen at random and placed in the center of the table, face down. As you can see, there are 3 cards in the center of the table and 1 card in each corner for each player. In the top right are little tokens so you can see what characters are in play. First, the troublemaker will switch 2 cards at random. Then, the seer will be able to look at any other player's cards to be able to tell who exactly they are. If at any given round there's only 1 werewolf, that werewolf is able to look at 2 cards of the center 3. There are some rounds in which there are no werewolves whatsoever, and therefore there's really nothing you can do about that. At the end of every round, you're supposed to just mix around your cards a little bit so that nobody can tell if their card was swapped via the troublemaker. Players are then allowed about 10 minutes to argue their case and vote for who they think the werewolf is. If either of the 2 werewolves are voted out, the villagers win. If neither werewolf is voted out, or the minion is voted out, then the werewolves win. If the tanner alone is voted out, then the tanner wins, not the werewolves, not the villagers. Play is then allowed to continue going via different rounds, so as a result, you were able to play around with different roles each and every time. You don't need to stick with the 7 that I showed here. Now, with a very brief overview on how the game plays out of the way, we're going to explain how we do our review formula here at the Board Game Archives. We look at 5 different categories, those being accessibility, replayability, aesthetics, cost, and time. Each of these 5 categories can earn between 0 and 5 stars, for a grand total of 0 to 25 stars. Games closer to 25 are fantastic, and we love those games. Games closer to 0 stars, however, we feel need a lot of work. For accessibility, we like to take a step back. We've played board games a lot here on the channel, and so because we've had that experience, we find it easy to learn new games. However, we recognize that a lot of people may not have that experience. Maybe you're new to board games and you just picked this up on a whim. Maybe you're a parent who bought this game for a child. Things of that nature. We like to look at how easy it is for people like that to pick up the game and start playing. And so for One Night Werewolf, we'll be giving an accessibility score of 5 out of 5 stars. What's so nice about this game is that you don't have to use every single role if you don't want to. If there's one that you don't find yourself enjoying or one that may confuse you, you can set it to the side and instead learn all the other roles. This sheet of paper you're looking at right now tells you every single thing you need to know about each role, and whenever the game starts, everybody closes their eyes and one by one each role gets to use their little special power. Well, this tells you exactly what you need to say to allow each of these characters to do said power. So as a result, the game is very accessible, and should you not want to read that much, there's also a complimentary app that you can use that will do all the reading for you. This game is very easy to learn as you play, and because each round takes about 10 minutes, you can do many rounds in a row to continue your learning. As such, we feel that this game is near the peak of accessibility. Replayability is exactly what it sounds like. Is this game replayable or not? In our own personal experience, we find this game to be very fun. We love how many different roles there are because it increases the variety by a multitudes, and because it is a card game that is so easy to carry around, you can play this almost anywhere. You can just spend maybe 30 minutes playing 2 or 3 rounds with your family and then call it a day. And because it is the perfect time, the perfect size to carry around, can be used in so many different settings, and has so much variety in-game, we feel that the replayability deserves 5 out of 5 stars. For aesthetics, we look at both how a game looks and how it feels. Now, we hesitate to give card games a very high score purely based on the fact that they are just cards. However, we do like the art style of this specific game, and each card does feel very well made. They feel heavy and they feel thick, and so as a result, they feel like they can last for quite a long time. We just hesitate to give it such a high score because we've covered other games on this channel that have full boards, that have multiple pieces, and as a result, we don't feel like aesthetically it can hang on with the big boys, if that makes sense. So as a result, we feel appropriate to give this game 3 out of 5 stars for aesthetics. Time we've already covered a little bit here on this video, but I still wanted to go a little bit more in-depth into it. So what I especially appreciate about One Night Werewolf is the fact that the time can actually be tweaked to your liking. So I keep on saying 10 minutes per round because that's the typical time that I usually play on. But what's nice is that if you're part of a friend group or a family that tends to argue a lot, who really likes to keep discussing what's happening, you can increase the time to maybe 15 or 20 minutes. But if you're on a time crunch or you want to play rapid fire, you can subtract it all the way down to, I believe, only 3 minutes. And so we really appreciate the fact that you can twist the time to your liking and as a result, we feel that it's a lot more intuitive in that regard. As a result, we would like to give 5 out of 5 stars for time for One Night Werewolf. For cost, we'll be giving One Night Werewolf 4 out of 5 stars. Our main concern is the fact that it's $25 for a card game, and while we do feel that the replayability does sort of make up for that fact, we still can't really justify having that big of a price for a card game. So, for instance, the bigger board games that can last for an hour and a half, we play those a lot, and yet those cost maybe $40. So, $25 for a 10-minute card game does seem a bit high in that regard, but at the same time, this game is more than replayable. So as a result, we want to give it 4 out of 5 stars, not a perfect score, but quite high nonetheless. Overall, we're going to be giving One Night Werewolf a total of 22 out of 25 stars. This is a house favorite here at the Board Game Archives for a reason. Out of all the board games we've ever played, this might be top 3 in terms of total play time. We feel that this game is very engrossing and it's very easy to pick up and put down. As a result, we feel that this is one of the best games that you could get regardless of experience with board games. So we highly encourage you to give One Night Werewolf a look, should you be looking for the next board game to add to your collection. As always, thank you so much for watching this far. This entire channel has been a passion project of ours, and so we truly appreciate how many of you have joined us and continued watching so far. Your support means so much to us, and we cannot wait to show you what else we have in store for 2025. So as always, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you the next time.